Hey guys, what's up? This is Johnny here. This is our second live stream of the day. It is Tuesday afternoon. Hopefully you caught the first live stream. Guys, I also just uploaded my breakdown, analysis, and prediction of the main event tomorrow night in Istanbul, Turkey. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go to my playlist section right now, find fight predictions, and you'll see I want to hear your opinion on who do you like in that fight. Batyrgaziev versus, give me a second, what? James Dickens. So it's an interesting matchup. You got the Russian gold medalist taking on the seasoned veteran Jaza from the UK. Undefeated 27-year-old versus a 34-year-old guy who's fought for a few world titles before and has fallen short, has 5 losses. In Dickens, 4 of them he got stopped. Southpaw versus Southpaw. Interesting matchup. I think we can make a lot of money on this fight. If you look at Dickens' resume, you're going to see a guy that, like I told you, high level experience. It seems like every time he takes that step up, he falls short. Guillermo Rigondeaux is on it. He fought him about 10 years ago. He got stopped against him. Kid Galahad beat him twice, but he's coming off an impressive victory over another English fighter. And, you know, it kind of propelled him into this title shot, Zelfa Barrett. And Zelfa Barrett wasn't too long ago that people were really high on Zelfa. So I talked about it in my breakdown video, guys. I have to tip my hat to James Dickens' handlers because we know the landscape at 130. We know what Lamont Roche holding that WBA strap. Everything I've heard, it doesn't look like he's fighting at 130 again. And so rumor is we do know this is for the interim strap for the WBA title. And rumor is the winner will be elevated to full champion. You have Neverete there. You have Oshaki Foster there and the new IBF champ, Sugar Nunes. So 130 is kind of figuring themselves out. And you got to think whoever wins this fight will be a champion, at least the interim guy. So as you guys are checking in, I want to announce a new feature on the channel. I'm going to leave it up to you guys how we should go about picking or what the prize should be. But on a live stream the other day, one of the subscribers, you guys will know Goat. He goes by Goat. You know, you'll see him on Gary's live streams. I think he's part of the Discord over there, 3D. He asked me during the live stream, he was like, how come, you know, for July, let's do a long parlay for all of July. And I was like, you know what, that's an interesting idea. So this will be our first month. What I've done in the post section, so if you go to my channel and you find videos, shorts, playlists, live streams, go to the post section. I just posted it. And there's 12 fights there starting this weekend with Caterall and Eubank. And I want you guys to pick your winners. You just pick money line winners. Who do you think are going to win these fights? At the end of the month, we'll see who does the best out of all of us. I'm going to put my winners up. You guys put your winners up. And, you know, we'll kind of learn as we go, kind of brainstorm together on we'll do it month to month and see what we could kind of come up with like a first place or maybe a live stream, something along the lines where I could give back as well. I'm already featuring your parlays, so a lot of you guys have in the comment section given me your picks, and some of you I've featured. So if you guys are confident bettors, confident gamblers, some of you guys email me and you want shout outs, we do that on the channel as well. You guys know by now it's not just about me. I like running a very interactive page. So you said the odds on Dickens are too high? Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I'm getting kind of these vibes. Are you guys getting a little bit of Galalia 5 versus Francisco Rodriguez vibes? Because I don't want Lightning to strike twice, but I am leaning on the Russian. I did pick Batyrgaziev. I did pick Batyrgaziev to win, but there's a lot of parallels with what we saw in Galalia 5, gold medal Olympian, undefeated, handful of pro fights, taking on a grizzled veteran, Francisco Rodriguez, handful of losses, and we know what happened. Richard Rico, what's up? Wherever you're tuning in at, all I ask for you is to like this video, comment, let me know your thoughts. Rico likes Harlem Eubank to take the belt to S against Jack Caterall. I'm going to disagree with him on that. I mean, it's a fun fight. The thing about Harlem is he is getting better with each fight. Only 31 years old. He is leveling up each time. We'll see. The thing is with the Russian, fights very close against lower level guys, and Dickens is world class. Chris, you're right. Would you say Dickens is world class? When I say I reserve world class fighters for guys who've won world titles, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of like how I go about the rhetoric in my head about world class, world level, or like, you know, then you got domestic level, then you got regional. But every time we've seen, I think Dickens is a shade below world class, only because he hasn't won a world title. I mean, he's won that IBO belt, but that's not a world title. And he's fought for world titles before. He just lost. It's interesting stylistically too. When you look at Dickens, you know, he has this high guard. He kind of does a lot of peekaboo sort of things with his you know, feints. All right, Richard Rico in the house. Hey, I respect your pick. So Rico, do you think how does Dickens win this fight via decision? I mean, you're saying then, if you guys know anything about the styles, that Dickens is going to use Batyrgaziev's aggression against him and just counter him the whole time? Because Dickens does fight well off the back foot. Well, Vega, Batyrgaziev is ranked number 6 in the world on BoxRec algorithm at 130 pounds. He's an undefeated pro. He won a gold medal in Tokyo in 2020. He's a Russian, represents Dagestan. So, you know you're going to get a well-disciplined, really focused fighter coming from that region of the world. He does some things unorthodox. In one of the posts I made about this fight, one of you guys said that Batyrgaziev's style was sloppy as hell. And I kind of pushed back on that. I wouldn't call him sloppy. He's unorthodox. He throws his hooks at weird angles. He throws punches he chops down. He does things that sort of, I would call him unorthodox. I wouldn't call him sloppy because he does a lot of things really well. You know, he's gotten buzzed before. He's gotten stunned before. Here we go. Very chinny. Guys, you can't be chinny if you've never been stopped or knocked out. Getting clipped, getting knocked down. I bet you, Chris, you're the same guy who calls Abdullah Mason chinny. And I bet you, Chris, you call Naoya Inoue chinny. Those guys aren't chinny. Those guys have chins, by the way. Dickens on the ass. Yeah. Yeah, skeezy, for sure. Yeah, Chris, you got your narrative wrong. Batyrgaziev got a chin. Inoue got a chin. You know, the guys who get clipped, buzzed, knocked down, get back up and win their fights, that's called being durable. That's called having a chin. That's not called being chinny. Amir Khan is chinny. The best example I could give you. Cody Garbrandt in the UFC, he's chinny. Batyrgaziev's not chinny. He'll engage in a firefight, though. It's going to be a fun fight. I think if I get the prop, I like Batyrgaziev to stop. I think he's going to stop Dickens in the later rounds. On my prediction, I gave you my money line prediction. I'm not 100% committing to the stoppage quite yet because I haven't got the odds. They haven't released them yet. So I'll let you know. But that's what I'm leaning towards when you look at how Dickens have been stopped before in the past. I don't want to say he fades, but he kind of breaks down. His durability breaks down in these longer fights, and he's been stopped a lot. 10th, 11th. Less the better you say about Amir Khan. Come on. Amir Khan was one of my favorite boxers. Assad, you're just hating. I'm a big... For any boxers out there who's really boxed, they would say they're fans of Amir Khan. Amir Khan's speed, dude, get out of here. World class. You just had to put Taylor Serrano in there. I don't like to watch... I love watching women's boxing. I used to manage a women fighter. I grew up with all sisters, too. To say that you don't have to watch women's tape. That's fine with you. We can't like everything, right? I respect your opinion. I think Serrano I thought Serrano won her last fight against Taylor. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely taking Serrano to win this fight, too. I was shocked that that last decision. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, he was chinny. Amir Khan was chinny. Exactly. Exactly. So, all right, so sometimes it takes a guy like me to say things that some people were thinking that don't want to say. Because I'm tired. It's weird. It gets kind of exhausted to hear people just bashing sort of guys based off of like what they remember them to be. Yeah, we remember Amir Khan getting knocked out. But Amir Khan was a world champion. Amir Khan had some of the fastest hands of all time. He did a lot of things, his skill set in the ring. Guys would kill to have that skill set. And, you know, unfortunately for him, certain times Call it a fight IQ thing. I don't know. Maybe call it an ego thing. His opponents knew that if you fight his ego, they could get him out of there. Who was the kid, since we're talking about Amir Khan, who was the domestic level guy who stopped him early? It was like his 4th pro fight. Not Thomas Delorme. I don't want to look it up. You guys will look it up. Mason isn't shinny either anyway. But you know what I'm saying, Chris. People say that in these forums and in comment sections. I think there's like a sort of understanding of what being chinny. Yes. Thank you, Chad. Breedis Prescott. Yeah. I think there's like a misunderstanding of what being chinny is. If Dickens works like he did in his fight against Barrett, he can win. He could win, man. I was impressed with Dickens. I thought Zelfa was going to get that fight. I thought here's another one of the main reasons, though, I'm siding with Batyrgaziev is sort of if we had to measure physicality in a fight, how physical a guy could be in the pocket, and what that physicality could lead to. I just think I'm leaning on Batyrgaziev's physicality and his pressure on the front foot. He's gonna be there to get hit. We'll see. It's a fun fight. It's an interesting fight. Anything can happen in these matches. We know that. If you're looking for value, take Jazza. I mean, you can't give. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm giving the pedigree to Batyrgaziev. You can't. I don't like. The one thing I don't do is solely pick a guy based on amateur pedigree. Look who Jazza's fought. Jazza has a win over Lee Wood. Granted, Lee Wood was a world champion at 126. That victory aged really well. I watched the Batyrgaziev versus Romero today. What a war. Bachi was almost... Yeah, that's what I said. No, Mike, Batyrgaziev has been clipped. He's shown that he could overcome adversity. It's what makes boxing so interesting. I don't think Dickens has the power, though, to do that. I don't think Dickens has the power to kind of... I don't even know if he has I don't even think he has the output to win a decision. So let's see real quick. It's a 12-rounder. It's interesting. I think the safe bet is over and under. I like it, Chris. I like the over-under. I'm not getting those odds, though, right now. It's a 12-round fight. I think the 12-round fight favors Batyrgaziev. I do. I think those extra 2 rounds. Because when you look at... Have a look if you guys can. And Dickens only has 14 stoppages. What's up, Johnny? Adrian in the house. What's up, guys? Wherever you're tuning in, welcome to the second live stream of the day. I've been doing lives every day for about a month. It's really helped the channel. Just like the video. That's all I ask. Put your input as well. All the boxing heads. We got midweek boxing in Istanbul, Turkey. I just look at the clocks. Guys, it's 2 a.m. my time, Thursday. And so I'm kind of torn because my first client who comes to my gym here comes at 5 a.m. Goat, what's up, buddy? Did you see the shout out I gave you, Goat? Goat gave a Goat. Because of Goat, guys, we're doing the July long parlay. It's a new feature to the channel. I put it up in the community section. But yeah, I have to watch the card at 2 a.m. The Turkey card. So I'm thinking either go to bed early and then wake up a couple hours earlier, or just stay up. We'll see what happens. Because I don't drink. I don't, my body's my temple sort of thing. Yeah, I tagged you in it, Goat. So if you go to my post section, I tagged you in it. It's the very last post. It's basically our July parlay. Guys, you could start giving me your picks today. Just go to the last post. I put 12 fights up there that start this weekend. Can you explain your picks for July? I haven't picked my picks yet, bud. Hand History Vault. I haven't given you my picks yet. We're starting that chat right now. I want to see what you guys are picking. We could go over it though if you guys want to focus there. Pull up that post. Yeah, the Asian Australia, we're kind of stuck in the middle. 2 a.m. is insane. What time is the Turkey fight for you guys? Why those fights? Oh, because those are the fights that my betting app, my betting app down here, those are the only ones they're showing me. So, and the fights start this weekend. I mean, we can do multiple ones. So Caterall, Eubank, Taylor Serrano, Playo Matias, Berlanga Shiraz, Shakur versus Zepeda, Usyk Dubois, Pacheco Macumbi, Fedor Zoo, Bam Cafu, Barrios Pacquiao, Zayas Perez, and Taraji Sandoval. So yeah, 12 fights. I mean, I think that's pretty good for a July long parlay. 12 big fights. You know, we could get. We're gonna do our sort of obscure fights anyway. Like, you know, we win a lot of money on these obscure fights. That's one of my favorite things about my channel. I'll do fight features on guys that somebody already said they never heard of these guys. No, aren't there females on there, Skeezy? I think I put. Isn't Katie Taylor and Serrano up there? Maybe, and we're going to continue our parlays. Guys, this parlay is just one of them. We're going to continue everything we always do. Playo is easy money to box circles. I agree. Chris, we see eye to eye, Chris. I knew we'd see eye to eye, mate. Wednesday, 10 a.m. Okay, so you guys are in the wheelhouse for the Batyrgaziev card. 10 a.m. is easy money. Yeah, a lot of contention so far has been that Matias Playo fight, Usyk Dubois fight. Yeah, we live off the small domestic fights. The July parlay is just a segment. We're gonna do all the other fights still. So let's talk with Rico, guys. Let's take a couple minutes to engage with Rico. He's asking about the Dubois Usyk matchup. So right now, if you're on this live stream and you're catching it live, I want to hear your comments on how do you see this rematch going? Usyk versus Dubois. I'll give you my opinion on it. If you're new to the channel, you got to wait till fight week for my exact prediction. But right now, when you look at the odds, Dubois, Usyk, in my opinion, the odds are closer. Dubois is about a 3-1 dog. That fight goes down in 3 weeks, July 20th. What a fun fight. What a fun fight. Usyk by stoppage. I think Usyk can outbox and win via decision. It's a tough fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, part of me wants to say that Daniel Dubois, the version we just saw of him, that dominant performance, is who he is now. Like, there's one part of my brain that wants to kind of forget everything that happened before his last fight. And this is who he is now. Stepping, kind of, what do they say? Stepping into, coming into his own. So part of me could see him beating Usyk. He's a big dude. He got power. Part of me could see him beating Usyk. Usyk's been, you know, Usyk has some miles on him. Not the biggest of guys. Happy Monday to you, Dwayne. Always supporting the channel. Back in buys today. I just got done trap barring, deadlift, and Zercher squatting. So yeah, I just came back from my session too. Dwayne Styles checking in the weight room. I love it. Yeah, I had a heavy session today too. Dubois, Carolyn is a beast, Mike. Carolyn got hands. So my point is, why I'm torn with that prediction as where we stand. We still got 3 weeks, guys. Is it's tough for me to think that Dubois is going to degrade. What is he, 26? I mean, we might be looking at the next champion for a long time with Dubois. There's a lot to like about where he's at in his career. You know, I kind of like that he doesn't have a perfect record. How do you guys rate Dubois? Yeah, he just turned 27. I mean, guys, for the heavyweight division, that's kind of like a baby. You know, he has the Usyk loss and the Joe Joyce loss is a head scratcher, right? But guys, that was, you know, he was 21 years old when he lost to Joe Joyce. That's what I mean by my comment that I feel like the version of him that stopped AJ is who he is. And that version isn't. Look at the run he's been on since he lost to Usyk. Stopped Jarrell Miller, stopped Hrgovic, stopped Anthony Joshua. He's been on a good streak. It just turned 27 years old, guys. I mean, he's a problem. So I don't think someone on your last life said Michael Cesar wasn't a good fighter and was overrated. I mean, we won a lot of money on C-Slack. Yeah, it's a head scratcher. Carlos, appreciate you, Vargas. And Goat, I feel that a lot of the naysayers with Dubois, what do we always say? What have you done for me lately? We people kind of focus on what he looked like when he during that Joe Joyce fight. I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think Dubois beats Hooney. I think maybe I drank the Kool-Aid a bit. Dude, having watched Daniel Dubois the last 3, he's fighting with a different energy. He's fighting with a different aggression. He's fighting with a different confidence. He's tightened up his game a bit. He's fighting smarter. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to just throw away Dubois and just say Usyk's going to beat him. Because I'm the guy who thought that, I'm the guy to this day who thinks that punch was legal. I'm just saying, my name is Bennett and I ain't in it. But I'm just going to let you know that I feel like that was not a low blow and that Usyk should have lost. That's all I'm going to say. But, I mean, he's overcome that. He's won 3 in a row. He did. All right. Dubois about to lose. I'm a big Joseph Parker guy. Does Parker have a fight? Wasn't he supposed to fight Ajit? Did they sign on the dotted line? I want to see Parker fight for a world title. Parker's my guy, dude. Come on. Agree, David. I agree. So they pulled him out of the fight to save the Usyk fight. Yeah, I want to see Parker fight for another world title. There are some man, you know, you hear some of these content creators kind of bashing the heavyweight division. I don't think so. There's some guys who could punch. There's some fun young guys. There's some old heads still. Parker might fight Allen next. Really? I don't want to see Parker fight Allen. I'd rather see Deontay Wilder fight Allen. Carlos, what are the locks for the weekend, mate? Right now we're talking, we have the fight in Turkey. Dwayne, what do you think about Jon Jones retiring? Makes me sad about Jon Jones. I've always been a Jon Jones fan. All right, we got a lot of questions. Let's focus on one real quick. Dwayne Styles, I'm going to answer your question because you always show me love, but I'm going to run down some of these questions. Jon Jones retiring from the sport, legal troubles. When we're talking about God-given talent, natural ability, athleticism, the ability to just, make decisions in the octagon in a split second. No one's ever been better than Jon Jones. In my opinion, he's the greatest UFC fighter of all time. That knockout, youngest light heavyweight, maybe the youngest champion. I think he was 20, 21, 22. Highlight reel knockout after highlight reel knockout. As of late, the last 5 years, the newer MMA fans aren't really going to remember some of those knockouts he had. But, there's kicks. He got tested a couple times. That first fight against Gustafsson was really close. I still think that he beat, some of the closer matchups when he fought Dominic Reyes. Some people said Reyes should have won that fight. That was close, but, his only loss was he was destroying Mark Hamill, and at the time, the 12-6 elbow was illegal, and then they DQ'd him and gave him a loss, but I'm not sure if that got overturned. It should be overturned. But either way, say what you will about him outside of the fucking octagon, but he's a savage, dude. These guys are combat athletes, savages. So we'd like to hold them to a high ethical standard, and we'd like to think that, our sons and daughters could cheer for them. But I don't judge people for their mistakes. I try to look at people, and this is everybody. I try to look at people for what they are when they're at their best, whether I know them personally, and it's just a creed that I live my life by. I try to, and we're all human, so it's normal. I think it's natural for us to judge people, but I don't pass judgment on somebody when they're flawed or when they make mistakes, and I don't use that against them. So to put a bookend on that, Dwayne, I think it's a sad day to see Jon Jones retire, but I think, hopefully he finds his peace and gets healthy because he has a lot of issues going on. A lot of it has to do with substance abuse. So, you just got to hope the best for that guy. All the other questions you guys were asking about, we were on, there were a bunch of questions flying by. I know you were talking about Dubois, Usyk. Somebody asked about the parlay for the week. Right now, with the bets for the week, I only have the one fight in Turkey. Appreciate you, Dwayne. He did recover Richard, and then he got confident again. He did recover Richard, and then he got confident. What did I miss? All right, chat. Let me know. Keep it going, chat. I want to see what I missed because we're just warming up. guys, if you didn't catch my analysis breakdown, it's uploaded. I uploaded it about 2 hours ago of the Batyrgaziev fight versus Jazza. I want to know your opinion on that. Some of the boys here think that Dickens is going to get the upset. It could happen. Caterall, Eubank. I think, Carlos, I like Caterall. I think Caterall I don't think it's shocking to say he's the better boxer. He's only 31. I think he should have been a world champion. I think Harlem's a good athlete. Harlem has leveled up. Harlem could win this fight. Actually, I'm impressed with what I've seen from Harlem Eubank the last few fights in terms of like adding things to his game. And if he takes another big step up, he could stop Caterall. But I'm leaning on the Jack Caterall. Yeah, he's had the better opposition. I think I'll die on this hill that he beat Josh Taylor the first time. I think he should have been a world champion there. A lot of his fights are close. You could throw Caterall into that category of like Sandor Martin losing really, really close decisions and always being on the wrong end of some of these decisions. Some people even say the ABJ fight, it should have went to Caterall instead of Barbosa. But he's not gonna he's not gonna go viral, Caterall. He's not gonna have these moments where the whole world's talking about it. He goes about his business a bit methodical. I don't want to say he'll kind of rock you to sleep, but he's a good boxer. He operates at his own pace. What Eubank is gonna have to do is show a skill set against Jack Caterall that he could win rounds. I don't know if he could win rounds against Jack. Lewis fights with no defense. But yeah, hopefully, and that's not my exact prediction. I'm going to upload that video tomorrow. I'm not 100% on Caterall, by the way. I could see a path to victory for Harlem, especially if he leveled up from the last time we saw him. But look at who Harlem's fought. That's fine. I'm not going to judge Harlem on who he's fought, but you have to talk about it. Yeah. Super duper lock, goat. Yeah, I like that. Over under, over 8.5. Koki in the house. I won a lot of money this weekend for the fights to go the distance. I think that's a smart bet. I don't have that options yet, though, guys. Are you guys getting those odds for the fight to go the distance? Another lock, fight to go the distance. I think people are falling in love with the fact that Sky Nicholson, she cuts, death by 1,000 paper cuts. All right, let's get to this. Forget Sky for now. Richard Rico, what about Puello Matias? I've been asked about Puello Matias almost on every live stream, and I'm going to tell you what I've told everybody. I think Alberto Puello is hands down the better boxer than Subaru Matias. I think he has multiple paths to victory. I think he punches harder than people think. I think he uses the whole ring. I think he's a slick southpaw. And I think Subaru Matias has a good backhand, a good right hand. I think Subaru Matias' footwork is very basic. I think Subaru Matias gets off on his front foot a lot. I think he's out of position a lot. And I don't think he beats Puello. I don't think so. Are you banking on the whole Dominican the rivalry there down in the Caribbean? I don't think so. What I've seen from Puello is a very high fight IQ. I don't think Puello fights. I don't understand whoever just said you see Puello fighting Matias's fight. I've yet to see Puello fight with a low IQ actually. How he boxed from rounds 4 onwards against GAR blew me away because Gary Antoine Russell pushed the pace. I thought I had GAR up maybe 4-0 in the first 4 rounds, at least 3-1. And he was pressuring him, pacing him, doing what he wanted to him. The fight was trending kind of like, what we ended up seeing GAR against Rayo, which was way more dominant. But then Puello made this adjustment. He adjusted his range and he engaged a little bit less. And he started making GAR come to him a bit more. And then he was able to counter him a bit more. And then he was using his lateral movement. And you started to see GAR fade a bit more. And then Puello won all these mid to late rounds. It was insane. The fight had shifted right before our eyes without Puello even landing a huge punch. So I think that's something to be said about Alberto Puello's boxing acumen, is that he could shift fights without needing a big crowd moment. He uses his fight IQ to do that. Rewatch the GAR fight. I was salty because I picked Gary Antoine Russell to win that fight, and I was wrong, and it was a close decision. But then watch Puello versus Sandor Martin. Yeah, a lot of nuances. Exactly, Pedro. That's what I'm talking about. You don't think his style will work against Matias? I mean, who's the biggest puncher Puello's fought? Puello versus GAR had me shocked. GAR is nasty. I'm a big fan. I'm not a big fan of GAR, man. Especially how he goes about his business. You know, that whole like lifelong boxer, lifelong athlete, but he's hittable. He's hittable. Yeah, Sandor Martin. But Sandor Martin fought him well, though. But Sandor Martin, I think you guys are going to hate me for this. I think Sandor Martin beats Matias. I think Sandor Martin is a very underrated world-level fighter. Sandor Martin is a hell of a boxer. I think Martin would beat Subaru Matias. Because you got to see the game plan that Liam beat him with. I think don't you think Liam gets hit? Recency bias. I didn't give you recency bias. I gave you reasoning on their boxing styles. Yeah, he is perfect, Carlos. I just wish Sandor Martin would turn the volume up a bit more in the last like minute of each round. He kind of gives rounds away. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think Liam Perro's game plan against Matias, Puello is going to do one-up that and actually get hit less. Because Liam got hit a lot against Matias. And Matias couldn't get Liam out of there. And Liam is a hell of a boxer. It's weird how the whole world forgets about because he lost a decision to Richardson Hitchens. But I just think that's how good Richardson Hitchens is. And none of you guys were high on Hitchens. And some of you guys might not be high on him even after what he did to George. But when I break down Hitchens, I told you guys this dude was going to give a viral performance. Richardson Hitchens' jab is one of the best, at least in the division. His speed is world class. His understanding of where his front foot is in terms of where he could hit and not get hit. And also Richardson Hitchens has this sort of methodical thing about him, how he could go through the gears, how he could kind of like rhythm himself into this pace. And then I think the older Hitchens is going to get, the more confident he's going to get into sitting down on his punches. I'm really high on Hitchens as a boxer. You got to see it against George. Oh, Maravilla. I love these fighters here. Sergio and Paul Williams. Amazing knockout, man. Now you're tapping into my heartstrings with that. It's my era. That's the era I grew up into, man. Sergio, Paul, Pavlik. Yeah, great era. Perro had to throw 1,000 put to win on Matias. Perro won that fight on will. It was a close fight, though. Good point, Koki. Good point. He doesn't have the volume. I'd actually like to see Puello and Hitchens. I know they're not big, but they're both champions. Isn't that crazy that we have to say that champions aren't big names? I think that's going to change. Matias has come forward and beat you up. I think a more fascinating fight would be GAR versus Matias. But I don't see Matias getting past Puello. Because of Richardson attributes. Yeah, great fight, easy money live. John Cena in the house. You guys do well with that live betting. I mean, styles make fights. Russell motivated is scary. I want to see, dude. But Koki, it wasn't just the volume against Valenzuela. It was his accuracy. Think about how many times did GAR miss in that fight? He didn't miss a lot. Yeah, Russell versus Matias. I mean, the only way I think we see that fight is if you guys are right and Subriel gets past Puello. Yeah, what a fun division, 140. What a fun division. There's interesting. It might not be the deepest division. It's a fun division. Oh, this fight's at welterweight. Do you guys know what weight they're fighting at? Harlem Eubank and Jack Caterall are fighting at 47, by the way. We got to talk about that. Yeah, Jack's moving up to 47 to fight Harlem. Harlem's the bigger guy. That's going to change. No, this fight's at 47. Yeah. Harlem and Jack are fighting at 47. That kind of changes. I should have known that. It's not really a Puello versus Matias isn't clear win for Puello. If you're going to bet on Puello, let it be realistic. Close fights back to back. Yeah, I'm just on the box rec right now. It's one of you guys asked me to what my pick was on Jack versus Harlem, and I said I thought Jack should outbox Harlem, but I was torn. And then something clicked in my head. I was like, why is Harlem Eubank dropping to 140 to fight Jack? And then I looked at the box rack and no, Jack's moving up to 47 to fight Harlem. Harlem's the bigger dude, longer reach, younger guy. I don't know, boys. I think I might be leaning towards Harlem to win this fight. What are the odds? That changes the game. I haven't heard anybody talk about that on the tail. I've watched a few film studies, a few breakdowns. It's funny when you watch the Brits break down their own guys, they're so kind of like nonchalant. They have a way about hating they have a way about hating on their fighters with being polite. They're boxing content creators. Yeah, hand history vault. Okay. This fight is a whole lot more interesting to me. I should have known. You know what it was is in my head. I wasn't really it wasn't really in the tip of my mind because we got this fight tomorrow. And I think we chatted about this last week, guys. One of you boys brought the stats up about when fighters, are struggling and then they move up to try to find more success. It's not like it's not like a Boots Ennis moving up who dominated or, never lost at 47, or a Bud Crawford moving up who's just on his journey becoming multi-division world champion. But when you have a guy who's lost, who really hasn't made it to the pinnacle at that division, and they move up to try to find success, it doesn't go that well for them a lot of the times. Dude, right now Harlem is a $3.50 dog. Mate, what's Harlem? The fight not to go the distance. So don't be shocked if Jack wins a world title. I mean, he can win a world title. I'm just saying that 7 pounds is kind of changing my approach a bit. Okay, so you feel it'll help Jack. So the 7 pounds will help Jack you're saying being able to take a punch more or being able to, have more on his shots? Because Eubank could crack a bit. Nine knockouts, but I've seen, as of late, stopped his last opponent. 3 out of his last 4. He's won 3 out of his last 4 by stoppage. A lot of that is him learning how to sit on his shots. He's still kind of great. He's not a finished product. Like I said, I like what I've seen Harlem Eubank up in his game up recently. I've only watched the last 3 fights. In the preparation for the breakdown, I watched the Tyron McKenna fight, the Erdogan fight, and then the Schwarzkopf fight. I didn't see the Ishmael Ellis fight. Okay, and he said this will be his 3rd fight at 47. So sell me on Caterall beating. I want you guys. Someone sell me on Caterall beating Eubank at 47, and I want to hear the opposite. How do you see Harlem? Because going into this live stream, I couldn't see Harlem winning a 12-round decision. I was thinking if you're gonna pick Eubank, you're gonna pick him. Are you gonna pick him to win a decision? Or are you gonna pick him to stop him? Jack's never been stopped. Very tough record. I'm kind of torn because are we under? I think I'm overthinking it. Going into this live stream, I knew like his resume is solid as hell, man. Jack's resume, he's a good fighter. He's slick. Yeah, I think from a boxing pedigree, somebody said that the 7 pounds will help Jack. How do you see it? If you're still on the live, how do you see the 7 pounds helping him? In which way? Offensively or defensively? Because defensively, he really isn't there too much to get hit. He's not really going to punch with you a lot either. I just was watching a Regis Prograis interview. He's fighting in August. Regis is in camp. His opponent hasn't been announced, but he said he's fighting in August 2nd. on the undercard of who's that? There's a big fight going down August 2nd, a big fight card. He said he's on the undercard, but he just said that Haney beats Brian Norman Jr. We know why he says that though. Boxers always do that. Eubank is busier, crafty, knows how to tie up, jumps in and out, great jab. Jack isn't busy with his hands, always looking for his counter. He's going to get outworked. Duarte, good call. Has been at 40 for too long. Okay, offensively. Okay, if that's the case, okay. Jack's skills have been slipping for a while now. Him moving up in weight isn't going to fix history. That's what I was referring to, and that's what it sounded like to me. Him trying to find out the recipe is a bit overrated. He's basically sophisticated. Regis can be outboxed for 12 since he's always waiting for one punch. Sims Jr., Duarte, okay, we'll give him more energy. Okay, less of a weight cut, less of a draw. Yeah, Oscar Duarte, Kenneth Sims Jr. is a good fight too. Caterall can crack. Caterall's punch, he has good timing. So when he hits those counters perfectly, can Eubanks' his chin hold up? I know some of you boys are taking that dog. I know some of you guys are sprinkling money on Eubank strictly because of the odds. I ain't hating on you either. Yeah, Caterall's one of those guys, when he counters you, his power comes from that timing component. I know the guy get the... Yeah, well, we got the John Pascal knockout was right. Stopped him in the fourth. He's timing. And I take timing over anything in boxing. You give me a fighter whose best attribute is timing, I'm a fan of that guy. Jack isn't good anymore. He's washed. That's why I picked Barboza to beat him too, not because he was washed. They have the same knockout percentage, Kogi. Yeah. I picked Barboza to beat Caterall too, but not because Caterall was washed. I just thought stylistically Barboza was kind of a little bit busier of an operator in terms of those styles, and that's, I think, essentially which gave him that decision. Yeah, what? Thank you. I don't think he's washed. He only has 2 losses, decision losses. He could easily be undefeated, guys. Caterall, I mean, come on. Caterall could easily be undefeated. Josh Taylor, he beat him, and some of you boys think he beat Barboza. What are we talking about? This is insane. Yeah, Arnold Barboza is one of my favorite boxers. I had Barboza beating Teo too, and people you know praised good performance by Teofimo Lopez, but it's not like, I mean, he didn't. I don't know. It was a good performance, but some people were talking about it was the performance of his career. Teofimo dog walk Barboza. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. Some people will say, I mean, people were salty. I go to my playlist. I keep all my videos up. If you go to my playlist, fight predictions, trigger down to February, pull up the prediction video and read the comments. That's all we have to do. We have receipts, guys. We can call the people out if we want. Has Eubank ever been dropped? Caterall got dropped by Regis. Yeah, but he beat Regis, though. The getting dropped thing to me is so overrated, guys. I don't know why. Maybe because, have you guys ever been dropped before in sparring? Like, it's so overrated. I got dropped, never, and somebody messaged me last time we talked about this, and they got real salty and pissed and really offended that I was talking about this. But growing up in my generation, where I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, I'm 43 years old. I'm referencing this because the world was different. So I went to a school with, I was one of 2, me, Nick Bellino, Chris Costas. We had 13 dudes in my class for 8 years, right? And me, Nick Bellino, and Chris were the only white dudes. All my boys were black. We grew up boxing and fighting my whole upbringing. My point is, all the street fights I had been to growing up, all the street fights, all the sparring, I had never been dropped until 4 years ago. I was 39 and I was sparring, just like I always spar still. And I'm sparring a dude. I'm 39 at the time. He was 58. This is a true freaking story, dude, and I still spar this guy. 58 years old, named Carl. End of a round. At the time, I'm trying to fight like, kind of coasting. I'm not trying to hurt him, and we're just trying to get a workout in. We have mouth guards on. We're taking it serious. And he throws a fucking hook that I didn't see, and the lights flash, all flash, my knees give way, and I pop right back up. And the look on his eyes was shocked, and then I finished the round. My point is, and then I was depressed for a week because I had a concussion. So if you ever get a concussion, it's normal to be depressed because it's a fucking brain injury. Like, your neurology's messed up. So the idea that somebody getting dropped, I think that's a good thing. I think if a guy gets dropped, gets up and wins, I think that's a badge. I think that's awesome. I think that's good for the guy's career. I think that shows that you could come back. All right, you guys are going to hate this opinion. Think about your favorite heavyweight of all time, Mike Tyson. How many people he destroyed. Not all fighters could be not all fighters could be the nail and still win fights. Mike Tyson was never down, in all of his career, of all the losses he has. The minute he started losing, he wasn't able to come back and win a fight. He never had that Diego Corrales moment. He never had that Arturo Gatti moment, the Muhammad Ali moment, like getting dropped, almost getting stopped. Kelly Pavlik versus Jermaine Taylor, almost getting knocked out and then coming back and winning. Teddy Atlas famously said it on the Rogan podcast. Every time Tyson was forced to be the nail, he lost. My point is, when I see fighters get dropped, and in that moment they're the nail and not the hammer, and they come back and win, dude, that's a positive thing. That's not a negative thing. That's not something I go into a future fight with that guy and say, oh, this guy got dropped before. He's chinny. No, that dude got dropped before and won. That fool is durable. That dude's a soldier. That dude's a warrior. That's the way I look at it. You don't have to agree with me. It's just the way I look at it. And you're right. Inoue is a goddamn animal. Ramon Cardenas, that dude's game plan was spot on, dude. You especially when you see the punch Cardenas landed, and then you hear him talk about the film study on Louis Neary, and studying that angle, studying that hook, showing, learning that Inoue was susceptible in the pocket, dropping that hand, and then actually executing it and then landing it. God damn, Ramon Cardenas, one punch changed the trajectory of his career, and he didn't even win the fight. Love Tito Trinidad. Great name drop. Love Felix, man. Tito Trinidad was that dude. Look at his resume. Tito Trinidad was one of my favorite fighters growing up. To this day, man, that I think it was Tito versus De La Hoya. The Tito versus De La fucking Hoya fight. I think it was 1997. I was 15 years old watching it at a house party, Jeremy Gray's house. I've been gambling since I was 15. I gambled on that fight. And, if my memory serves me correctly, Tito was out to a sprinter's lead, right? And then, it's a long time ago, he stopped kind of fighting, and then De La Hoya ended up. I just got to pull it up. I don't want to misspeak because the way my memory remembers that fight, I bet on Trinidad. He was winning the fight. He won a majority decision, 99. It wasn't 97. It was 99. Yeah, he won a majority decision. It was at 147. It was a lot closer than it should have been. I've been out here gambling since... Johnny been out here gambling since the war. Aaron Pryor, baby, the Hawk. Cincinnati, Ohio in the house. One of my favorite guys. Pryor never really got his due diligence. He never really got his flowers because people will hate on Pryor's resume. They talk about the water bottle. Vernon Forrest, OG. Now we're talking OGs. That's what I'm talking about. Was winning the Tito. That's how it went. That's how it went. It was De La Hoya was winning, and then Tito had to come back, right? Yeah, De La Hoya stopped boxing. He started that fight with a one game plan, and then halfway through the fight, he changed his style. David Tua, the Kiwi. Watch David Tua versus Ika Beabuchi. Here's an old head name for you boys. Yeah. Dude, Google Ika Beabuchi. Not a household name. The boxing heads will know about Ike. That dude was a goddamn monster. A Beabuchi versus Tua. Dude, those guys, Jesus. I still follow Tua. Yeah. I go to Tua's Instagram. He's still training, hitting the bag, deadlifting, putting up Bible quotes. I'm a big fan. I know. Ike had a lot of mental issues, mate. Lost a whole career. Yeah, Ike Ibeabuchi lost a whole career. Same with Michael Nunn. A lot of people forget about, second to none, Michael Nunn, mate. Michael Nunn was the dude up until he lost to, I think it was James Toney. Michael Nunn, for what he went to, Michael Nunn was like selling dope, I think. Was part of like wasn't Nunn part of like a drug sort of trafficking thing? And then lost a bit, went to prison for a long time. But now we're turning the page from like no names to like really boxing head names. But second to none was my guy, dude. Well, and we talked about James Toney last week on the live stream, one of my favorite fighters of all time. He fought Triple G, had a long, dude, let Triple G rest. Triple G's done. Let him rest easy. He's doing a lot with the amateurs. Didn't Triple G guys take that job with either the I know he applied to be the IOC, one of the figureheads of Olympic boxing, which goddamn we need a figurehead, because after that shit that just happened in France, letting punk ass Amon Khalif beat up women was insane. A fight that Triple G, I don't think Triple G's coming back. I didn't hear that rumor. You guys were talking about Juan Manuel Marquez yesterday coming back. Y'all wild. Out here crazy. You think Jazz are getting upset? I don't. I think Batyrgaziev beats that dude. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah, whenever a fighter steps into a leadership position, he's all about commissioning and pushing the sport forward. What a fun fighter to watch. And he definitely beat Canelo in the first fight. I don't care what you say. That fight wasn't even close. We should do a watch party, boys, and all watch. I know, DJ. You know I'm pissed about that, DJ. I did a whole series on it. I saw Ike was trying to do a comeback. We should do a watch party on a live and rewatch Canelo versus Triple G1 and score it. Because, boys, I've watched it multiple times. I was dumbfounded that they didn't give that to Triple G. That was insane. Yeah, it was confirmed. Amon Khalif, dude, XY chromosome. We know it was dude. Go to my playlist. I documented the whole story in real time when it was happening in Paris at the Olympics. Don't get me pissed off. Dude, 100% XY chromosomes, her and the fighter from Taiwan. It was insane, and it's come out. Triple G won that. Yeah, he did, dude. What a marauding style. What a marauding style. I would have loved to see, I don't really like mixing eras, but, at the back end of Pavlik's career, Kelly was supposed to fight Paul Williams. That fight fell through, and then Kelly was supposed to fight Andre Ward, and that fight fell through. But Triple G was the name floating around there too at the time. He was younger. But in terms of styles at 160 pounds, Pavlik versus Triple G, that would have been a goddamn firefight. I'd have loved to see that fight. Big punchers. Pavlik, dude, his offensive bag was just straight punches, a jab and a cross. Dude, fucking power. This is a true story I'll give you guys before I get out of here. One of the largest state fairs in Ohio, where I come from. I know we got some Clevelanders here. I grew up in Youngstown. One of our largest state fairs is called the Canfield Fair. It still goes on. It's in Northeast Ohio. And we're 12 years old at the time. And I've been friends with Kelly since we were 7, right? And it's baseball season. And so Kelly and I are playing in these all-star tournaments. He plays catcher, and I'm our pitcher and shortstop. And his parents take us to the Canfield Fair. They drop us off at like noon, and we'd stay till 10 p.m. We'd have like $5 and would leave. Listen how we would leave with money. There was a boxing game there. This would have been 1994 when I was 12. And Pavlik would make me, we'd put the money, we'd play the game, and he would make me call out, everybody who thinks they can beat a 12-year-old in this boxing game, I guarantee I'll put $100 on it. My buddy who's 12 years old will outpunch it. And this was what we were doing. And I hadn't gone through puberty. My voice sounded like this. And Pavlik was beating grown adults at the Canfield Fair on this punch game. And people knew, true story, people knew that Kelly was going to be something special. And he was punching hard before he'd even gone through puberty. And I always attest to it, his punching power came from being a catcher. I always tell people, the dude would have been a Division I. He would have definitely made it to the, I couldn't doubt him in anything, the highest level in baseball playing catcher. He was calling our games. Like, if you're unfamiliar with baseball, the term calling a game is when the catcher is calling the game, not the manager, meaning that the catcher is calling every pitch and the pitcher is shaking the catcher off, fastball, based on scenarios. 0-0 count, all right, I'm going to throw my fastball. Kelly gives me the 1. 0-2 count, I want to throw a fastball. Kelly's giving me the 2 number. I shake him off. He gives me the 2. So that's what I mean. He was calling games when we were 12 years old. And the dude was a phenomenal catcher. Hit bombs, had a cannon, was throwing out runners from his knees from first to second. Amazing. Skells, Johnny's thoughts on Berlanga and Shiraz. Best knockout ever, Marvia knocking out Paul Williams. I don't like that knockout. That's not the best knockout ever. I don't like that knockout. I don't like that knockout. I like when, yeah. I think that Manny Pacquiao knockout was probably a little equally up there. And I think Chico Corrales, his knockout as well, when he knocked out Luis Castillo. Even though it wasn't out cold. Or who was it who knocked out Tommy Morrison against the ropes? Was that Riddick Bowe? Or yeah, I'm a huge fan of Paul Williams. Paul was, yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. Dude, Sergio Martinez, mate, Maravilla, wild, crazy long career, crazy athlete. I'm still salty he pieced up Pavlik the way he did. But, you got to respect that guy. Hall of Famer for sure. You guys asked me about Shiraz Berlanga. We've been talking about this fight every live stream. I like Berlanga to beat Shiraz, mate. I like Berlanga's hand speed. I like his power. I think he's more seasoned. I think he's meaner. The fight's in New York. I think he stopped Shiraz. That's just my opinion. 114, 110, Garcia. Hated him. Oh, the ref hated him. If he dies, he dies. Charlo knockout. J-Rock, bad one. Yeah, bad knockout. There's been some bad ones, boys. You don't ever want to see a guy go through the ring. Oh, remember like a month ago? A month ago, we were watching the, I think it was one of the OTC cards. And I forget who it was. It was a veteran fighting an up-and-comer. His mom was in the front row, and he gets knocked out cold. It was scary. Berlanga, first-round knockout. Oh, no. I'm not going to pick first round. I have Batyrgaziev beating Chaza. Guys, we're approaching an hour. Could you guys like this video? And I'll keep it on a little bit longer. Yeah, Caterall was at. Oh, what are we talking about? Brian Norman Jr., dude. What he just did. That Norman Jr. knockout was so disgusting. The Norman Jr. knockout is Sasaki. No, did he? I appreciate it. I'll take the compliment. Thank you. But how Brian threw that punch when you watch it in slow motion. Ritter, that Kwame Ritter knockout. GOAT is always Johnny on the spot with it. The Kwame Ritter knockout was brutal too, man. There's been some brutal knockouts. But, Manny Pacquiao still to this day, that's a tough one. Even when you watch it, that's a tough one. It's like walking into like a speeding car. And this is boxing. You can have a guy, one of the greatest of all time, get caught. And so when you hear people call people washed or say that they're bums and scrubs, no, the guy was max 140 that night. I allow you gay. What? Tatarron's opponent had to get brain surgery. Did he have to get brain surgery? That was brutal. Yeah, there's been some brutal knockouts as of late. Sasaki it doesn't get much nastier than that, because what happens is when you go down, why does Wilder always complain to the ref when he gets stunned? I don't know, man. I don't think Wilder likes to get, I don't know. I have no comment on Wilder. I didn't bet on that fight. Herndon, I didn't even cover that fight. I don't know how I feel about Wilder. We'll see what happens. I think there's room for him in the heavyweight division. I'd like to see Wilder versus the big fella who just from England, David Allen. That's who I want to see. I don't think they would ever do it, but Who knows? David, dude, give Joseph Parker a world title shot. Don't give Joseph Parker David Allen. Give Deontay Wilder David Allen. That's what I want to see. I'm not. Who knows who wins that fight? David Allen lost me a lot of money. It's always the case, guys. Whenever I lose money on a guy, I become fans of the guy. I definitely didn't see him beating Bosch. But an hour in, guys. Stay tuned to the channel. We got fights tomorrow night. I'm going to be uploading the Harlem Eubank Caterall breakdown. Yeah, the Angelo Leo in Japan. Yeah, I think Jake Paul could beat Wilder. Oh, God. GOAT. Or are you talking about Jake LaMotta? GOAT. Who are you talking about? Angela Leo is a beast. What's up, Mark? Mark, I saw your email. I'm going to get back to you, Mark, about my book. So what I'm going to do, Mark, is email you. I need your address because I have my newest book. I'm just going to mail it to you since my publisher doesn't mail, obviously, to the Philippines, I guess. So what I'll do is I have a bunch of copies of my latest book, The 24-Hour Reset. So, Mark, I'm going to email you. I need your address, and I'll just mail you a copy. Appreciate the tips. Guy, Mark's a late dude. He got in an hour into the stream. I was about to end it. But GOAT's talking about Jake Paul beats Wilder. You know, Wilder has no legs, and I'm not even talking physically. The neurology, we talked about it last week. You know, the whole thing that happens as men. When we get older, we get less resilient in life. You know, that's why it's important for us as we get older as men to engage in a strength program. And this is the coach side of me, and this is all real rapid I'm about to tell you. The science and the evidence and the studies on the benefits of doing strength training. Not going to the gym and doing dumbbell curls. Strength training relates to functional movement patterns. Squats, deadlifts, presses, the basic human functions, picking something off the ground, sitting up out of a chair, reaching for things, overhead, those lifts. This is what I coach, is when you engage in this program, especially the older we get, it adds bone density. So bone density helps fight against the aging process and helps make the body more resilient. The older we get, helps fight against things like osteoporosis, arthritis. So the older we get just in general as men, we become less resilient and durable. When you're a fighter, we talked about it. Evander Holyfield against Vitor Belfort, one of the worst exhibitions of all time. I wish that never took place. I'm still pissed at the handlers. Evander Holyfield was a guy at 58, 59 who was just going through the motions. And you have a killer from Brazil, Vitor Belfort, who thinks it's a real goddamn fight, who as soon as you see Evander get touched, he has no legs. Look at Chuck Liddell against punk-ass Tito Ortiz the last time they fought. No legs. Looks like Bambi on there. That's not a skill set or not being trained thing. That's a neurological issue the older we get as men. And Wilder, I mean, he's never had a strong base. He just had a backhand. You know, he had a straight cross. And maybe you're right, GOAT. Mac, you want that upset, boy? Mac's screaming upset. Let's see what that... I'm not even getting options on that, Mac. Let's see what we got here. Oh, you're talking about Havanis. Oh, no, Jenny. I didn't know no Jenny's fighting. What are the odds right there with... Is Mac, is DeJenny an underdog? Dude, Sasani DeJenny, long career. I can't believe he's the dog. I'm not getting these options. He's fighting a 7-0 guy, Hannes Bachov. Yeah, this is DeJenny who beat, you know, he got stopped against Barboza. Ernesto Mercado got stopped. That's why those odds are the same. Lost to UD against Haney. Damn, some of these guys, they just throw them up against... Boxing's a brutal sport, boys. That's why we... Just look at Jenny's resume. Look who he's fought. That's why for people, the Wasp, for people to hate on fighters is insane to me. Because there's so many guys like Dingenny who has fought everybody, who doesn't have a perfect record, who casuals will say that he's washed. But then when, you know, they talk about Devin Haney, they call him, they trash Haney. It's like, dude, boxing's a brutal sport. 19 knockouts. He carries you to the ring. It's 58% career knockout to win ratio. He's fighting Batyrgaziev, 7-0, Armenian fighter. I mean, all the Armenian fighters I know in MMA and in boxing and in Muay Thai. You know, he just retired. He was Italian Armenian. The Doctor, his brother fights in the UFC. They're all front foot guys. You know, very proud fighters. Armenians by nature, very proud people. I mean, 7 wins, 6 knockouts. He's the favorite because of his style. 32 years old. You know, not a lot of fights. Who's on his resume? Who's he beaten? Dubai. I could see it. I think. What are the odds again, Mac? I think that's a live dog. Wilder's done. The original Wilder would have rendered her unconscious well before 5. Yeah, Zach. Would you favor Prime McGregor over Topuria? Yeah, I would. It's a tough one. You know what? I would take Conor. I would take, so, you know, having watched Conor's entire career, even when he was in Cage Warriors, you know, having watched that a very competitive fight people never mention is when Conor fought Max Holloway when Max was, I think, 21. Max had just fought Will Chope, who, ironically enough, Will Chope is on the undercard in Turkey. We brought him up in the earlier live stream. On that, so after Max beat Will Chope, he fought Conor. I think Conor tore his ACL in that fight. And then Conor went on a run. He fought Marcus Brimage after, if my memory serves me correctly. People won't remember Marcus Brimage, but Brimage had a lot of hype. They're going into that fight. Brimage was the guy at the weigh-ins. He would wear those sort of Star Trek glasses, flashy striker, and did a lot of things on paper really well. The reason that I would take Conor over Topuria is his length, really long, and his timing, dude, his counters. Because what Topuria wants to do is what Jose Aldo wanted to do against Conor. And I'm not saying that Conor would have stopped Topuria like he stopped Aldo, but don't forget, Jose Aldo was already a Hall of Famer, untouchable when he fought Conor. I remember the shit talk in the lead up. Aldo was like perturbed on who is the, you know, he couldn't really understand him, but he's thinking like, because up until this point, Aldo had come from WEC, you know, this is the guy that he had those wars with Uriah Faber, and, you know, he used to be known as a dangerous leg kicker, and then somewhere along the lines, Josie stopped doing those low leg kicks, but had a whole country on his back. The whole world worshipped him, and then you see this young Conor McGregor not worshiping him, not respecting him, and I remember in the media, the look on Josie's face was kind of like, he was like, what the hell is going on here? So the psychological component, it's hard to, dude, I think Conor McGregor was, you know, for us to be able to watch that short amount of time that we got to see him, what's up, High Interest? Appreciate you. Late night stream. It's my second one, too, of the day. We're out here getting saucy in this late night stream. But, you know, Conor before Floyd was a different guy. And we know why. You know what I'm saying? Like, Conor before Floyd, and then once you got those silk sheets. But, dude, when they fought, I knew Conor was going to be special when he was fighting on the undercard in Boston, and they gave Conor McGregor the blackout treatment. They shut all the lights off, and he wasn't even the main event. And then he goes over he has the fight in the UK, and all of his boys were on the fight card. Caterall, Pedred, Paddy the Hooligan, Houlihan, and all of his boys won, and he gives that infamous octagon speech. I think he was talking to Dan Hardy, and he goes, you gotta be a special talent to come here and beat me. He goes, Paddy the Hooligan, Houlihan, rear naked choke. Caterall, Pedred, you can't beat that guy. He goes, we didn't come to take part, we came to take over. And it was like, holy fuck, dude, what is this? And, man, it was like a wave. When Conor McGregor came over, man, and I saw it at the gym I was working at. You saw all these kind of beta sort of males adopting McGregor's persona, which we see all the time. You see it in, you know, whatever sort of fandom we're talking about. Guys are walking around like McGregor. It was insane, dude. I'd have to say he would beat Topuria, but Topuria's sharp. And, you know, Topuria, you know, has good grappling. He could grapple too. You know, Conor had his moments against Khabib. Conor won the 3rd round against Khabib. Conor had Khabib on wobbly legs in the third. I think it was the third, and then he got stopped in the fourth. I think that's how it went. I only watched these fights once, but this is how my memory served it. And, Khabib got a chin. Khabib almost got stopped against Michael Johnson. Watch that fight. I thought Khabib actually lost to the Brazilian in one of his first fights in the UFC. He won a very controversial decision. Forget what that guy's name was. But when he fought Michael Johnson, mate, the menace, at his best, menace is chinny. Michael Johnson's chinny, but he's my guy. But he caught Khabib, mate, and had him on wobbly legs. But then that's when Khabib recovered, great durability. And then that's when we saw Khabib just grapple the hell out of him, get on Michael Johnson, talking to him octagon side, telling him he needs to tap, and then talking to Dana at the same time. So, yeah, that when Conor came on the scene, I lost some money last week. I'm calling back. You're going to win, Brandon. Yeah, biggest anomaly of all time. Michael Johnson, lowest fight IQ of all time. The shit he pulled against just recently, I mean, win one, lose one, win one, lose one, go viral, lose one, go viral, get starched. His fight IQ against Josh Emmett, I'm pulling my hair out. So I'm close friends with his strength and conditioning coach, Dr. Corey Peacock. Corey's in my my last book. I've been interviewing Corey. His interviews are on this channel. You could go to playlists. You could see him. And Corey is a professor at Nova Eastern University in South Florida. And he's been the strength and conditioning coach for all the way back to the Black Zillions. When the Black Zillions were Kamaru Usman and Abel Trujillo, Abel the Killer Trujillo, Hot Chocolate, and Michael Johnson was part of, when it was the Black Zillions, then it was Sanford MMA, then it was, what are they now? But Corey Peacock, I talk to every time Michael fights, and he's like, dude, the dude still has it. But go to Michael Johnson sparring. This would have been in 2013. These guys, the OG Black Zillions, I think Anthony Johnson, rest in peace, man, Rumble, that still makes me sad. When Rumble was a friend of mine, I still get choked up about Rumble passing away. But those guys sparring, dude, they used to try to kill each other. Insane. Michael Johnson would go into his fights with concussions. They thought at the time that it was cool to just try to knock each other out. And then they would do yoga together. It was insane. You could all these videos are on YouTube. And yeah, Johnson, great call on that. Whoever said that, Michael Johnson, biggest anomaly maybe in combat sports. Jesus, but his backhand when he throws that thing wild. Or watch Johnson versus Gaethje. Gaethje's first fight when Gaethje came to the UFC. It was a goddamn barn burner. Johnson dropped. Appreciate you, Brandon. Yeah, Michael Johnson drops Gaethje. Gaethje drops Johnson. They're throwing bombs. I think it was like 2 minutes into the fight. They're standing in the middle of the octagon. And, it just paved the way for what would be a crazy career for Justin Gaethje. And Gaethje stops Johnson, jumps on the octagon, does that backflip that he became known for, grabs the microphone. And I think at the time Gaethje was 19-0. And the first thing he said, yeah, Rashad Evans was part of the Black Zillions. The first thing Gaethje says after he stopped Michael Johnson, he goes, I didn't get knocked out today, but I know I'm going to get knocked out soon. But until I meet that motherfucker, let's go. And people were like, who is this dude? Gaethje, man, the human highlight. But yeah, Rashad Evans was part of that squad. If I sit on it, I could, Daniel Zellhuber, great fight. Oh, God. Are you kidding me? John Zellhuber, that dude could crack. Michael Johnson just must put his hand up. Michael Johnson's kind of like, here, who wants to fight this guy? He's like, when you mentioned about losing a bet and it's overturned to cheating, I put 1,000, Kalnacki at $8 eventually overturned. Kalnacki, oh God. I'm sorry about that, Skeezy. Michael Johnson's fighting Zellhuber. Jesus. That dude dodges no smoke. Zellhuber could crack. That's going to definitely end in stoppage. When in doubt, bet Michael Johnson fights not to go the distance. It's insane. But, yeah, a lot of... I don't think... Is there a UFC card this weekend? You won. Okay, there you go. Nice. How salty will we be, though, if somehow they make it a rule in gambling to where if your fighter wins and you get paid out, but then 3 months down the road, your fighter pops dirty or the outcome gets overturned, you have to pay the money back. That would be insane. Like Navarrete versus Charlie Suarez. I won so much money on that outcome. Navarrete to win and the fight not to go the distance. You got a lock of the week yet? Too early. I think it's too early. Give me tomorrow. I'll have it for you. Ribovic, UFC no show. Yeah, Ribovic, dude. Another war. Give me till tomorrow. High interest. I'll have a lock for you. Right now, we're focusing on the interim world title fight in Turkey. But I want to get the co-main odds because one of the boys here told me about the co-main. Betting on Ryan to beat Haney. I don't care, cry. I won 1,000. Nice. Yeah, a lot of people won money, man, that night. I didn't bet on that fight. I've gotten lucky in terms of, I think when people are like, Johnny, what's the most money you won? Or what's the luckiest bet you won? I always tell people, the luckiest I ever get with gambling are the fights I don't bet on. And that's not me telling you not to gamble. It's me saying, like I didn't bet on Ryan versus Devin because it was one of these fights where there was so much vitriol behind it. I covered the fights. There was so much vitriol behind it. I was gonna bet on Haney, but I'm not betting on this fight. Yeah, dude, they only counted 3 knockdowns. Devin hit the canvas 6 times. That dude got hurt. Devin Haney got hurt, man. That dude kept getting up. He was like the Undertaker. It's weird how that wasn't the narrative that, don't you think, like, maybe it's a sign of the times. It's weird how that's not the narrative. Like, this kid fought the best hooker in boxing. You know, it's probably fair to say, I don't know if I'd agree with it, but they say, Ryan, best left hook in boxing, at least in the division, if you want to give him his flowers for that. Why wasn't the narrative Haney fights the best hooker in boxing, gets off the canvas 6 times? It was like, nah, that fool, I understand why. He got beat up. But he won a lot of rounds. This is another thing. Rewatch the fight, guys. I just did this 2 months ago. Haney won a lot of rounds. When you're scoring rounds, he won a lot of rounds. Just those big moments he lost. And what was the eventual outcome? Was it a split decision? The media is insane. That's one of the only reasons I have a smidget of hope for him versus Norman, because if he can take Ryan's hook, he could probably take Norman's. They punch a bit differently. Yeah, I always try to keep it neutral on the channel. You won't see me hating on these guys, and I like Haney as a boxer. And, I like what he's done so far. I just judge what I see in the ring, boys. That was the narrative in him. Gervonta sparring. Haney was getting rocked but kept coming back. Yep. I think it was because exactly. A lot of it has to do with the media, too. And, we live in the day and age, guys, of virality. So these big sporting sites on Instagram, YouTube, they know that you spin a certain narrative, you're going to get clicks and views. And then it's the fans that run with the narrative. Norman does so many things better than Ryan. Norman has good speed, good timing. He's not a perfect fighter, though. He's not a finished fighter. Even when he punches with you, he was getting hit a lot by Sasaki. Like, he was getting hit a lot. Sasaki was landing his shots. Dude, Sasaki is a dog. Rewatch that fight, guys. Even though, Sasaki took a goddamn beating. But he was landing. I'm going to try to be more judged, but I do like some fighters. I wanted Charles to win. Yeah, I didn't. I want Charles. This is going to be super controversial, boys. I've never been a Charles Oliveira fan. You got to understand, though, I started watching MMA, UFC in '93. So I'm not just a UFC MMA fan. I watch all of the Pride. I went through the whole Kazushi Sakuraba era, the whole Royce Gracie era, Ken Shamrock, fucking Dan Severn. Then I went through the BJ Penn era. I went through the Robbie Lawler era. And I watched Charles Oliveira fight I watched Charles' first fight in the UFC. And I'll tell you why I'm not a fan. I'm going to bring up one specific fight. Because I told you, I could be real petty. Here's why I'm not a Charles Oliveira fan. And this now granted, it was a while ago. Okay, so I'm living in Las Vegas in 2013. Okay. Jim Miller, Nick Lentz, Donald Cerrone, Cub Swanson, 2012, Frankie Edgar, 2013. Okay. When he fought, it was when he fought Max Holloway. And he quit. Now, it was ruled, he got stopped against Max in 2015, and it was ruled an esophagus injury. It was ruled an esophagus injury. But up until that Max fight, every time he stepped up, you know, he lost to Frankie Edgar. One of my favorite strikers, Cub Swanson, knocked him out. Donald Cerrone stopped him. Jim Miller stopped him. And so, like, as he started turning into the guy that the new MMA fan knows, and he's a consummate professional, Hall of Famer. It's just that, I don't know. When I picked Ilya to knock him out, I was like, Toporia's hands, Oliveira's not that dude to stand in the pocket, and not with Topuria. He's going to get knocked out. And I won money on that stoppage. But, you know, he's a Hall of Famer. There's this weird new MMA fan who gets sad when fighters lose. Volkanovski. I was glad when he got stopped. I was glad when because I like boxing. I'm an MMA fan, but how Volk goes about this is controversial. Aussies are gonna hate me for it, but I picked Ilya to stop Volk. I was salty when Ilya stopped Max. I was shocked that went down that way, but I like strikers, man. I like strikers. I do, man. Edson Barbosa, one of my favorite fighters of all time. I have an OG interview on my channel with Edson Barbosa. When I interviewed him in 2017. When Barbosa, obviously you remember the spinning kick against Terry Edom. I think that was in 2013. Barbosa's striking though, dude, unbelievable. But yeah, we covered, guys, if you ever tune in late, by the time we get 80 minutes into a live stream, it's free for all. It's a free for all now. It's the Wild West now. We're just talking. High interest, Zachary Scott. What am I, Barbosa? Brandon, I have data. Here we go. Brandon, leave this in a text message on my page so I can share this. 13 legs. John Silva, dude. I think Diego Lopez, he lacks durability. I watched Diego Lopez get stopped on the regional scene. I was shocked when Diego went on his run in the UFC. Because I watched Diego get stopped in, I think it was the LFA. And, granted, he's up-leveled his game. But where Diego lacks is he's over-aggressive and he sometimes lacks durability. And goddamn, John Silva is a maniac. Lopez is bigger. The whole Fighting Nerds camp, pretty interesting to me. Cal Bahio, I had Abdullah, but after the other night from Schofield. See, this is interesting. The whole Abdullah, and we talked about this on our first live stream, boys. The Abdullah versus Schofield conversation. One's only 22, one's only 21. No, Silva stops. Hold me to this. Silva will stop Diego. He'll stop Diego Lopez. Diego's leaking in his defense, and he's too big of a dog. And it's a compliment. He's just not durable. He cuts a lot of weight, and I think I'd like to see him in a different division. Diego used to get stopped on the regional scene. Like I'm sure I'm not the only one. If you follow, like I'm a nerd. I watch LFA fights. I watch Cage Fury fights. I watch Cage Warrior fights. I don't just watch boxing. I watch all fights. So I've watched Diego come up. I told you, I watched Conor McGregor when he was in Cage Warriors. I saw him. I knew about him before he came over the pond. I think, to put a bookend on that, I think Jean Silva stops Diego Lopez, and I'd like to see the odds on that. Katie Taylor, what? Man, I still think Serrano won that last fight. I think Serrano beats Taylor. It's weird that she doesn't get that close decision to me. I don't know why she didn't get. It's weird to me. I didn't see. I had more rounds. I had more output. It was a crazy good fight. When I see fighters lose close decisions, I try to look at it. Nah, I'm not. I'm not coming to Perth. But I did manage Jack Della Maddalena his first UFC fight. I was working for an Australian record company called, something you guys don't know about me. I was working for a record company called Golden Robot Records out of Sydney, and I pitched to the CEO a sports department to promote MMA fighters and get them to walk out to the music. And so I know, I handpicked certain fighters, and I remember watching Jack D fight here in Australia with he was fighting in the promotion with like Scrappy MMA. The promotion it's slipping my mind. But yeah, we ended up working with him for 2 fights. His boxing is insane. His hands are insane. He's a workman-like type of cat. Man, talk about a great fight with Bilal. Bilal gets a lot of hate. I'm a big fan I know Bilal Muhammad as well. I interviewed Bilal when he had 2 fights in the UFC. It was great to see him become a world champion. Nobody works harder than Bilal Muhammad, mate. In the gym, if you ever want to do a strength session, dude, this is why you hear casuals talk shit about fighters because they don't like their personality or their politics. But I judge fighters on their work ethic. Bilal Muhammad, dude's work ethic. Doing a strength session with that guy, no one's working harder than that fool. His grappling, his wrestling, he's always been into boxing. One of his lifelong coaches is a guy named Lewis Taylor. Lewis Handguns Taylor won the first PFL $1 million tournament. He knocked out Magomedov. Magomedov was an 8-1 dog. The Magomedov who fights in the UFC now, the one that Sean Strickland beat, he fought Lewis Taylor in the $1 million tournament at middleweight, I think in 2017. Taylor was an 8-1 dog, knocked him out in the first round. Nasty. So anyway, Taylor's been Bilal's coach for like the last 12 years. To see when it doesn't always work out for guys in the fight game like that, but to see it work out for Taylor and then see it work out for Bilal, it just makes you happy. And then to see the fight that he gave Jack, he gave the fans that fight, insane. To see how he ragdolled Sean Brady, freaking insane, dude. Insane. Sean Brady's a dog, dude. Sean Brady's grappling, wrestling, his physicality, and Bilal just big brothered that dude. So, I think people would be shocked when you meet Bilal how big he is, how like big, thick. Some guys are just built differently, their bone structure. That dude's a menace in terms of his that style he has, and then he added that little level to his game when he did the couple fight camps with the Dagestanis and Khabib and the boys. Yeah, it helped him become a world champion. I was super stoked for him when he became a world champion. And then I'm a loyalist too. So I was attacking haters in the comment section. I don't do it on YouTube. I just do it on Instagram. If you guys I follow my name on Instagram. I've been an OG on Instagram forever. Yeah, he's big, dude, and he's strong. He's proud type of cat. Chicago boy too, man. The Shy. That whole gym what was the kid who fought out of Chicago? He recently retired. Damn, he was fun to fight. He was fun to watch. Never became a world champion. He'd win fights by knockout and then he'd get stopped, especially later in his career. Fought, I think, at 135. Damn it, for slipping my name. Chicago. There you go. A lot of good fighters come from the Shy. What if somebody from the Shadow Wazil got a deal on the hottest rap label around? I always say Chicago's one of my favorite cities, like 2 months out of the year. Okay, we got people that should fucking holla. Damn, that's awesome. Yeah, we would drive. It would be a 7-hour drive. When I went to the University of Pittsburgh, my first year and a half of college, we would drive from Pitt to the United Center. This would have been in 2001 and 2002. There was a radio station in Chicago at the time. Maybe it's still there. I think it was Q101 or Q107. And they would do like this punk festival. And it would be like at the United Center during the winter for somewhere around New Year's Eve. And I saw it was like Blink 182, Good Charlotte. It was like a 10-hour fest. And I remember and I used to go to Bulls games too when the Bulls would just beat up on my Cavs. Just took Mag Seltray, Clay Guida, not Guida. Ricardo, what was Ricardo's last name? God damn it. I hate when I forget guys. He's a good fighter. I think he fought his last fight. In Chicago. Damn, we got a lot of Chicago boys in the house. Do I think Zeus gets a win against Fundora? I don't know, man. I like Fundora in that fight. I like Seb in that fight. The bully. No. Ricardo Lamas, the bully. Him. Isn't he from Chicago? He was a guy that, in my opinion, could have been a world champion. You know, was always right there. I don't even think he got a chance to fight for the world title. When Lamas retired, I was kind of bummed. Because, you know, it's the changing of the guard. But dude, he has a great highlight reel. Watch his highlight reel. His nickname, I think he was the bully as well. And he just fought the best opponents. Sometimes, you know, that's why you gotta love MMA. The UFC is hammer versus hammer. It's a meat grinder. They put, you know, it'll eat you up really quick. Buenos noches, chat. What's that card like? I haven't even got a chance to look at that card. He beat Charles. Yeah, dude, a lot of great fight. I mean, look his resume. Yeah, he lost. He got submitted in the second. Well, he got submitted. Lamas submitted him. Ricardo beat Charles. And that was in 2016. Jason Knight from Mississippi. Jason Knight, dude. Talk about it. Dude, people sleep on Jason Knight, dude. Jay Boogie. White chocolate. Dude, Jason Knight, man, if that dude had a legit camp and if he kind of had, like, proper guidance, he broke into the UFC at, like, 21 from, like, fighting out of a barn, I think in, Minnesota or Mississippi? Mississippi Mean, they called him. He had a couple different nicknames. Mississippi Mean was one of them. And I think his first fight in the UFC was a barn burner, won a $50K check, and then just couldn't get on a winning streak. Got cut, came back, and then got cut again. Yeah, Lamas. So Ricardo's last fight, he beat Bill Algeo. The Kelvin Cater fight was tough. That was a bad knockout. I thought he beat Mirsad Bektic. I thought he won that. Josh Emmett one was a bad knockout. Jesus Christ. Josh Emmett, his knockout highlight reel, that dude starches. That was insane. It was interesting. You know what I was impressed with is watching 50 G's. Dan Ige. I was impressed with how he maneuvered Josh Emmett. Was it Ige? Yeah. No, Emmett beat him by unanimous decision. Emmett lost to Lerone Murphy, beat Mitchell, lost to Topuria, lost to Yair Rodriguez, beat Cutter, Calvin Cater, Shane Burgos. Yeah, there's some... Dude, it's tough to... Word on the street is UFC Chicago co-main Patty. Patty's a dog, dude. People hate on Patty. He's another guy I covered on the channel when he was in Cage Warriors. Patty Pimblett's a really tough fighter. Really good everywhere. Big boy for the division. Great wrestler, great grappler. Got dogs in his hands. Wants a dog fight. I want to see him fight Topuria. They were talking all that shit. At the time before no one knew Ilya, it was Patty who was the guy. Guys, I got to run. I've been on this live for 90 minutes. I appreciate you boys. I'm going to shock you, but I like Patty versus Ilya. I do, dude. I don't think so. I don't think he would knock Patty out. He's a Scouser. Scousers don't get knocked out. Well, if that fight gets signed, maybe I'll start doing UFC breakdowns again. Guys, I used to host a gambling show on Instagram. So I used to host a live stream gambling show called Easy Money on Instagram with this MMA journalist from Washington, D.C., and we would do this on a live stream, and we did it during the pandemic for like 2 years. But, yeah, I'm not going to... I like Patty. I like Patty against Ilya, to be honest with you, at 155. Because, you know, Patty's durable. He has really high-level world-class wrestling and grappling. I think he would... I don't know. I could see Patty kind of choking. But you could fight Patty's ego. So Patty would stand and trade with you. Yeah, Ilya could punch. We'll see. Guys, I got to run. Stay tuned to the channel. We got fights tomorrow. I'm uploading hard.